This week's episode is brought to you by the legends over at Dog and Gun Coffee. And if you guys are not already on the Dog and Gun Coffee email list, make sure you head across and sign up for that one because they are forever sending out special deals. On top of that, they also release secret brews every once in a while. Right now, I have some Black Death on its way to me, which is the one that has the big buffalo on the front of. It's the artwork, the buffalo artwork on the front of the coffee bag, and I am beyond stoked for this Black Death to rock up. It's absolutely scrumptious. I really love a dark coffee brew blend. I usually drink the Samba blend, but whenever they do release this Black Death brew, I jump on it because it is also freaking delicious. So you guys too can get access to the specialty brews, but also any of the coffee blends that Dog and Gun release, even the ones that are fit for adventure with the preloaded drip filters. And you can get $10 off your next order when you use the code Bowhunter in caps locks, all caps locks Bowhunter, and that will get you $10 off your next order with the legends over at Dog and Gun Coffee. This week's episode is also brought to you by the crew at Cayuga Broadheads, and for my friends joining us from over the pond, over the sea in New Zealand, you guys can get Cayuga delivered to your doorstep. Just go to the Cayuga website. Be sure to use the code BAB10. That's caps locks BAB10. And that will get you 10% off of your order. And they will ship it directly to you in New Zealand so you can use these incredible broadheads on your very next hunt. Remember that code is BAB10. And that will get you 10% off at Cayuga Broadheads.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands. Searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting.
Legend, thank you for joining me. Today, you are going to hear from Miss Ashlee Strange. Ashlee is over on the North Island in New Zealand, and she is a hunting advocate, especially for the ladies out there. We delve deep into the systems that they actually have set up over in New Zealand and how the infrastructure works for bringing new hunters in, which is absolutely incredible. But on top of that, just some of the things that she kind of found was great and not so great about the hunting world and getting into it as a lady. And so she shares some of those insights and gives you tips, I guess, around how you can also avoid that. And also for the dudes who are in the hunting world who are listening to this, just how you can be less of a dick and more of an inviting human for someone when they are stepping into the hunting world, for the ladies when they're stepping into the hunting world in particular. Ashlee doesn't do a heap of bow hunting. She has done, and she is planning on getting back into it. So of course I give her a bit of cheek over making sure she gets back into it. But realistically, she has a lot of really cool insights into New Zealand and some of the amazing game that they have available. She's also looking at getting into guiding hunts later down track, as you will hear in the podcast. So she has some just really cool insights to be able to share for anyone who's looking to go to New Zealand, for any of the ladies looking to get into hunting, and also just in hunting in general. So anyway, I'll let you guys sit back, relax, and enjoy this one with Miss Ashlee Strange. Alrighty, bow hunters, welcome back to another episode. Sitting here with Mrs. Ashlee Strange. Lovely to have you here, Ash.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, I saw not so long ago that you had, you were told at one point that you wouldn't walk again.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us that story? Unpack that. That sounds like an interesting situation.
Yeah, it was a very interesting story, actually. So I guess I'll try and condense it a wee bit. But I was at my sister's wedding and at the reception and just felt like I couldn't breathe there for a moment. And my mum, my aunties and whatnot thought, oh, you've just got indigestion, have some food, have some water, just sit down. But it just didn't come right, and just sort of the breathing didn't feel right. So anyway, mum and dad left the wedding with me, took me home, and then realized it just was getting worse. So rang the ambulance. They took me off to hospital, and where they did scans and x-rays and whatnot, and managed to find a mass in my chest area. So which obviously needed further looking into. So they transferred me to another hospital where they did further tests and found out I had a tumor the size of a cricket ball attached to my heart.
No, that's
That was
hectic.
coming off my aorta, yeah. And what had happened is a blood vessel had burst, which was filling my lungs with blood, hence why I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was all pretty fast from there. They had to rush me obviously into surgery and stuff. So they didn't really know what they were heading into.
Yeah.
And what was sort of going to be the outcome. So yeah,
That's hectic.
you do the whole sign yourself away and say goodbye to everyone. And yeah, I went in and was lucky enough to come out pretty unscathed, really, to be honest.
Wow. That's chaos.
Yeah, it was pretty chaotic.
Yeah.
Even poor mum and dad, like the surgeons came out and they were just like, look, we don't know. Like it was just tiger country in there. We just cut and we just got it out.
Wow.
So until she wakes up, we're not really going to know. So it was a bit of a scary time for poor mum and dad.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you imagine obviously being a mum yourself, right? Like how confronting.
Well,
that
I
would
didn't
be.
have kids at that point.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I do now, looking back, going, oh man, that would have been such a freaky time.
Yeah.
And obviously it ruined my sister's wedding because, of course, she couldn't relax knowing I wasn't well and never went to her honeymoon. So I've never left that one down, unfortunately. She never lets me forget that one. But yeah, it was a scary time and a long road to recovery. But yeah, I'm good now. So
was there anything that like any signs before that, or was it literally that was the first thing that came up and just down and out from there?
Not really anything that I kind of thought something serious was happening, like I sort of got a bit of back pain here and there every, now and then, and felt like I felt really unfit for some reason, and I just sort of put it down to, being unfit. But looking back, there was obviously reasonings for all of that now that I look back, but just such a minor thing that didn't really think too much of it.
Yeah, it's so crazy, right? Like your body obviously always gives you signs and symptoms, but at the same time, if it's not giving you anything major, like you're not going to go and get a scan just because you think, oh, I'm not as fit as what I used to be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so nothing really. Like I was relatively lucky. I'd just flown back from Perth because I was living over there at the time and flew back for my sister's wedding, and like even the surgeon said, God, you're lucky it didn't happen on the plane, or like I'd gone to sleep that night, I would have just drowned in my own blood. Like I wouldn't have woken up to it.
Far out.
Yeah, so very lucky. Someone's looking after me upstairs.
Definitely. And you said it was a pretty long road to recovery. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, well, obviously I was in ICU for a bit there, and obviously had to sit and wait for the results to make sure it wasn't, cancerous, which it wasn't, which was lucky. But yeah, it took because they'd gone in, I've got quite a good scar on my back because I went through my back rather than my front, which was quite nice. But they broke my ribs and it's open heart surgery basically. So it was a good 3 weeks in hospital where I had a drain just to drain all the fluids and stuff off my lungs.
Yep.
And from there, I wasn't allowed to fly for 6 months. So I wasn't going back to Australia.
Did you plan to?
Well, yeah, because I'd moved there and the house and everything. So, yeah, so that wasn't ideal, but hey, that was just the way it is. Could have been worse. So,
Yep.
But yeah, so it took it probably a good 8 months to, more to get back to the way I was. So,
yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And in regards to the hunting side of the world, when did you get into hunting? Like, is that always kind of been ingrained in your family, or is it something you came across yourself?
Yeah, so growing up, my dad was into hunting, so he was really into pig hunting. That's, something I've done, but it's not something that it's not my favorite, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like pigging with dogs? Is that the sort of stuff he did?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I grew up around that my entire life, and so yeah, I guess that hunting side was always sort of instilled in us, and Dad was really outdoorsy, so we'd be off camping and doing all those things. So it kind of started from there really, and yeah, I guess escalated and as I got older.
That's interesting. Did he ever kind of not force it on you, but was he always like trying to invite you to go out with him and stuff, or how did that kind of look?
Um, yes and no. Like he would never really forced it. Like it was always something that was our choice. And mum's not really into the hunting scene, so and I'm a girl,
Yeah.
silly old thing. So I remember like sort of begging dad, I really want to go. And so it's quite a funny story actually. Dad caved and said, yeah, okay, come hunting. So we went pig hunting and we're out in the bush, the dogs had bailed a pig and the pig had sort of turned and broke off from the dogs and started running towards us. And all I remember is dad just hiffing me up this tree and just holding on while it just all unfolded below me. And it was like, oh my God, such a thrill, but scary at the same time.
Yeah.
And then, and then of course I went home and dad sort of said, make sure you don't tell anyone. Don't tell your mother. So I was like, yeah, sweet as. It must have been, I think it was about 8 by that stage. And I remember going home and just couldn't help myself. Had to tell my brother and sister, and mum overheard, and then that was the end of that.
That's
Mum was
hilarious.
like, not going again.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens, right? With pigs in general, it can happen pretty frequently. The boars, unfortunately, if you get in their grills, they're going to charge you. If they're feeling threatened.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And so you're on the North Island. It's funny, we were talking about before we even got into the podcast. I often think about the South Island as being like the hunting island, but it's like such an incorrect assumption, right? It's literally the whole of New Zealand's prime country for hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, like we've got our species up north that the South don't have, and vice versa, So
What's the different species you guys have?
for up north we've got Seeker, a type of deer.
No way. Yeah, okay. I thought they were on both. There you go.
Yeah, so Seeker are up north here. We have Rusa and Samba.
Yeah,
also.
wow. There you go.
I mean, there may be some on game parks and stuff down south, but not in the public land sort of area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then down south, they've got tar and chamois that we don't have up north.
Oh, no way. And so the Seeker and the Samba and the Rusa herds, are they pretty prolific? Like there's a lot of them?
In certain areas, yes, but it's not widespread. They're in their sort of predominant areas, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a huge like all over the North Island kind of thing.
Definitely. I mean, all of them are pretty like they're habitual, right? In the sense of the habitat that they like to be in is very different to, like, they wouldn't just spread over the whole country, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it seems kind of much the same here. Like the Rusa deer seem to really love thickets and stuff like that, like thick bushes where they can really dig down and tunnel in. And the Samba in particular, like very popular in the high country here in Victoria, but at the same time, they're starting to spread further north. And then what are Sitka like?
What a Seeker like?
Yeah, what are they like in regards to like where they like to be?
Yeah, so they're predominantly sort of in the central of the North Island. So in the Kawikas and the Kaimanawas and things like that, are generally where people hunt them. But they're in the in the native bush that we have here. They're just sort of in that central kind of north area. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember talking to Andre Alapate from is it the Hunters Club? Is that what it's called? Yeah, and he was saying that I think that they're particularly known for like pretty thick stuff as well, kind of like the Rusa. And he was saying like when he's hunting them in particular, he'll do a lot of like really close bino work. So essentially he'll have bushes right in front of him. He's trying to look through the bushes with his binos just so he can try and uncover these deer because they're in that stuff. Yeah.
They can be on the tops and in the thick bush, and there's spread in that area. But yeah,
that's interesting. And so, what do you like to hunt the most? What are your favorite pigs?
Oh, gosh, that's a tough one.
Just
I really like
general?
Just anything.
Yep. Oh, there's animals.
I think they all have their favoritism.
Definitely.
But I don't know. Fallows are my favorite deer. I quite like a fallow. But I mean, it's a tough one because they're all sort of different rutting times as well. So you can
Mm-hmm.
almost go back to back and, go all the way through if you wanted to. But yeah, Chamois and Tar, I'm a North Islander, so they're all South Island, but they're pretty incredible to hunt. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, but
High
yeah,
country, big country, just hard to get to.
yeah, huge country, and they're just incredible animals. What they can,
Mm-hmm.
how they move and where they live, it's just unreal. So that's pretty cool to hunt them.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's a tough one to ask.
It is. It definitely is. I guess like one of the big reasons, like I'm a massive champion of the women in hunting. Like there is plenty of you guys, but it seems like it's almost like reserved, right? Like, oh, women shouldn't hunt. Like what you kind of related to before. But you're a lady, you shouldn't do this. So I'm like, no, fuck that. Like, yeah, the girls, let's get out there.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, like, was there ever a time where you kind of moved away from hunting and came back into it? As you grew up, or when you moved to Australia, for instance, over to Perth.
Yeah. I mean, there was, I guess, through my younger years, we're out there doing stuff with dad and whatnot. And then I guess through so that high school time, you find boys and, kind of went away from it. But then, having my own boys, I really wanted them to experience it and sort of grow up the way I grew up.
Yeah.
So I guess I fully immersed myself when they were born and stuff. So really got into it from there.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
didn't look back, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. So that was kind of like the calling back. That was the desire to come
Yeah,
back into it. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And so, how old were they when you introduced them to it?
So they were babies, yeah. They were in the backpack, front pack.
That's so good.
Yeah, just out there doing it with us, with me, and yeah, they just from the get-go, that's what they knew.
Yeah, it's
So
so incredible. I actually think I remember seeing a picture of you years ago with like one of your boys strapped to you as you're out hunting. It's so cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been the younger one in the back, and the older one could walk, so he was walking. Yeah.
How much complaints do you get from him?
Oh, not anymore. They're
Okay.
great now,
Yeah,
but
that's good.
when they were younger, I mean, they weren't actually too bad, like I think it's really important to make it a fun experience.
Definitely. Yeah.
Otherwise they're not going to want to do it. And
Uh-huh.
it was never something I forced upon them. It
Mm.
was, it was, something they always wanted to do, and if they didn't want to come, that was fine. But yeah, I guess the way it was sort of the way they got into it and the way we did it, they just enjoyed it from the get-go, and yeah, still do.
Yeah,
So
definitely. It's so cool.
yeah.
It's funny. I'll ask my daughters what they're grateful for, and the youngest, she's 2. She can't really talk that much, so she kind of repeats most things that my oldest says. But my eldest is always like, it's every day without fail. She goes, "I'm grateful that you can go and get us meat, Dad." I'm like, "How good's that?" Like, that's something you can be grateful for. I'm stoked that that's one of them.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, obviously you got called back to it because you wanted to try and introduce it to your sons, but why do you hunt? Like, what is the thing that kind of draws you in general?
Oh, I think it's a combination of things, eh? I don't think it's one thing for me. One big one obviously was, show my boys, the way of life and bringing them up into it and teaching them the skills and that sort of stuff. There's obviously being outdoors, it's a big thing, great for mental health and just fitness and everything, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I guess for hunting, it's sort of from the start to the finish. Like there's just that whole adventure, that whole experience from the get-go, the preparation to the, taking it home and butchering it. There's so much in amongst that I just enjoy. So
definitely. Yeah, it's such a cool process, and I think it's so primitive too, right? Like it's instinctual in the sense that or it feels innate to us in the sense of you go out and you do it, you don't know what it's going to be like, and you go and do it, and you're like, oh my gosh, like it's so fulfilling, even though it's like some of the hardest shit you will ever do in your life, and it's just like you feel so accomplished whenever it does come to fruition, and when you do carry an animal, like the last pack out I did was something like 2.6K with 2 deer on me, pretty much like a deer and a half, and I was just like, holy fuck. By the end of it, you're absolutely slaughtered, but you just feel incredible, right? You're like so empowered by this process.
yeah Oh yeah, for sure, eh? It's yeah. I think it's a hard one to explain like
Mm,
to people that haven't experienced it.
yeah,
It's like I always say to people, until you've experienced it, you just don't know that feeling, you know?
definitely. Yeah, I was on a call the other day, and they said, "When was the last time you truly felt alive?" I'm like, "Oh, every time I go hunting. Like it's literally once a
Yeah.
month for me. How cool that I get that." And there was all these people on this call that had no idea. They were like, "Oh, I really can't remember." And like that's so sad. It's so sad that they don't get to
Yeah.
experience that. Not to say that
Mm.
hunting would be that for everyone, but it seems like everyone who is a hunter who,
Yeah.
I guess resonates with it and calls themselves a hunter, it is definitely the thing that they find from it. It's why we go and do it so often, because it is the thing that makes us feel most like us.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting. So,
Mm.
you do a bit of bow hunting, you do a bit of rifle hunting. What's kind of I guess, A, the preference, and B, and when do you decide what to take?
Well, yeah. Yeah, so I guess I started out with the rifle, and rifle hunting and whatnot. And then I decided to pick up the bow. And I sort of, I go through waves, I guess, of getting really into it and picking it up, the
Mm-hmm.
bow, and then picking it up. It's sort of up and down,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't a great thing. I probably should stick to it, but sometimes, and I mean, I don't want to use them as an excuse, but if I'm taking my boys hunting, it's
Mhm.
really difficult to go hunting with a bow when
Definitely.
they're tailing behind you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
quite often the rifle is the choice. Or, if you need to fill the freezer,
Mm-hmm.
your rifle's your choice. And then now obviously they're shooting things too, so it's just, less time for me to shoot and more time for them now. And so yeah, the rifle's probably the first choice, but yeah, I like to sort of dabble in the bow and pick it up and go through little phases, I guess, of having it and taking it out for a walk. But yeah, I do need to sort of stick to it, but the rifle can be easy sometimes
Oh,
to pick up.
100% agree. It's so, like, it's funny. The very first hike I took my daughter on, it's the only hike that we've gone on in regards to a hunting trip together. And we got so lucky where we came over the top of a hill and we came in on some thick stuff where the deer usually hang out. So I knew where we were going exactly, hoping that there was going to be deer there. And sure enough, they were. They were 15 meters away from us. The cicadas were going absolutely crazy. So there was nothing that she could do that would ruin the hunt unless she was to, like, scream, for instance. And she had hiccups, and we were like 15 meters away from this deer, and it's like, what the heck is that? Like, she's got this little toy dog, and she's hiccuping into this toy dog, and I'm like, it was such a cool moment, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if we'll ever get close enough again. Maybe, definitely. You should never say never, but it's like to get that close by accident instead of actually trying to stalk in on an animal with a young kid as well in tow. Like, it's hard enough when you're there by yourself, let alone with a kid or two kids with you, right?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, it is. And so I can completely agree with the side of the rifle is much easier with kids.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, at the same time, I shouldn't use it as an excuse.
No, and that's the thing, right? It's like, I guess it's also showcasing to them the other side of hunting, that it's not always easy and it's not always successful.
Oh, for sure. Like they've both got a little bow that my mum and dad have got an orchard, so they head around the orchard and shoot birds and stuff. And they
Yeah.
and they love it,
Yeah.
like it's and they're actually surprisingly quite good at
Yeah.
it.
That's awesome.
And they're like, oh, we're gonna go. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, sweet as you'll never shoot anything. Next thing they come back and I'm like, what?
Oh, that's so good.
But yeah, so definitely, yeah, it's definitely not easy, that's for sure.
Mm,
So they're right.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so other ladies looking to potentially get into hunting, I'm guessing you probably do get a fair few women reach out to you in general, being like, hey, like, I've never done it. I'm interested. What do I do? Is that kind of something that does happen regularly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that quite frequently, I want to get into it. How do I do it? And
What's
sort of ask.
what's your kind of starting advice?
Like over here, we have New Zealand Deerstalkers Association.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there's clubs scattered around New Zealand. So I belong to the Thames Valley Club.
Yep.
And so my sort of first piece of advice to any woman that wants to get into it is join your local club.
Mm.
Um, because they quite often organize, group hunts and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And you can actually do a course which is called the hunts course.
Yep.
And it actually takes you through, I think it's like 6 or 8 weeks, but it takes you through start to finish, like
Yeah,
about hunting,
awesome.
like
Yeah.
all the bits and pieces that from to butchering an animal, from, the rifle side of things and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So it's always a good start to sort of get all that knowledge. But I don't know, get the groups in the NZDA are really good with the hunts that they organise, and you can sort of tail along with someone and pick up a mentor and that sort of thing. So that's always a really good start. You just
Definitely.
end up meeting like-minded people.
Yeah.
Because it can be hard for a female, unless you're lucky enough to find another woman that's, hunting in your area, which isn't very common, and unless you find a male that is willing to be patient and take their time out, then it can be quite hard.
Definitely, I can imagine it'd be pretty intimidating, right? Like this thing that's been championed by men as the men thing for so long, right? And not that it has to be that way. Obviously, it's not that way, but I
Yeah,
can understand why it might lead you to have your guards up straight away.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And there's still the men out there that are, not into women hunting, it's always going to be like that. But so yeah, there's it can be hard sometimes if
Yeah,
you've not got a
yeah.
a partner that's going to take care or whatever.
I think it's absolutely incredible that they have that on offer. I know there's definitely stuff here in Australia, but it's much harder to come by, especially I think depending on where you live, right? The state to state, it does change so much because, for instance, where I am in Queensland, you're not allowed to hunt unless it's public land. Sorry, private land. You can't hunt on public land at all.
Oh wow.
Same as I believe, or South Australia at the moment trying to shut down bow hunting completely. Tasmania's already shut down bow hunting. I think Western Australia is the same. You can only hunt on private land. Victoria, you can do public and private. New South, you can do public and private. And so it's like, it is limited to some degree. And so I can understand why people don't necessarily have, as an association set programs. There definitely is stuff like the Cayuga Adventures that they run. Brad Smith's bow hunting course that he's doing. Brad Murphy's bow hunting courses that he's doing that Brad Smith is also involved in. There's plenty of stuff that's out there if you go looking for it, but it's not as probably easily accessible as kind of what you're saying it potentially is over there.
Yeah, it is a really cool resource that they've sort of brought out, and it makes it a lot easier for people to get into it and, and join a group, join a club, and you make friends with people and mentors and tag along to a hunt. And the people that are sort of involved in it are obviously all into hunting, and it's a passion for them. So someone new is just, even better. So it is really cool. Yeah. And my particular club that I belong to, the president of the club is a female, and it's awesome. Oh, and she's awesome.
Yeah.
But so she gets right behind the female side of things, and it's really cool. So
yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I can imagine. In the sense of like, do you have many people from overseas reaching out saying, hey, I really admire what you're doing and I would like to get into hunting from where I am, that are kind of asking the same questions, like females reaching out and asking those questions?
Not so much females from other countries. I probably get more men from other countries.
Okay.
Sort of just asking like, oh, I really want to go hunting in New Zealand, like, where can I go? Can you take me? That kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I still get asked questions, like about hunting specifically, or like what rifle do you use? Just, that kind of stuff from females.
Yeah.
What clothes do you like to wear, hunting? Because that's always another topic for a female to find the right gear.
Definitely. What do you wear? What is kind of like the good starting stuff for you guys?
Yeah, so obviously the female hunting clothing range has come a long way in the last couple of years. Like, a lot more brands are jumping on board and creating gear specifically for women, which is really cool because, like, starting out, I was wearing men's gear, and it's not the same,
So
men and
baggy.
women.
Yeah.
So it's baggy. You crutches to your knees, it's not comfortable. So
But you look
it is
gangster as
really
fuck.
nice. Yeah. It is really good to have some gear that's designed for women. So the gear that I use is Stony Creek Gear, so it's a brand that we have here. So their clothing and stuff is designed by a woman as
How
well,
good.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's made for a woman, to fit a woman. So it is really cool.
Yeah,
that we,
definitely.
Yeah.
And then what about like rifle caliber for you? And in regards to, I mean, this is probably a question you get a lot is like, hey, what is going to be a good enough caliber for me that's going to be powerful enough to take the deer out, but also not hurt me while I'm shooting?
Yeah. So I've got a 308, so
Mhm.
I use a 308 rifle. Yeah, so it's just a Tikka. It's actually it's a shortened barrel, so it's 16-inch barrel. So
Yep.
it's only a nice little, because most of my hunting is, bush sort of hunting and stuff. So a nice little short bush gun is what I use.
Yeah.
For most of my hunting. But obviously when you're down south and stuff, you're getting a bigger gun because you're shooting further,
Mm.
that
That's
kind
kind
of
of
thing.
like the long distance stuff and the big valleys and stuff, right?
Yeah, it can be.
Mhm.
Yeah, it can be long distance stuff. So you want something that's going to shoot a bit further than 308, or my little 308 anyway. So
What is your ideal range? Like, what's your goal every time you come across an animal? I'm going to try to get to X amount. What's that kind of cutoff for you?
yeah, obviously, like anything, the closer the better. But anything under 200 meters is
Good.
easy
Yeah,
shot kind of thing.
definitely.
But yeah, the closer the better.
Yeah.
And that's all part of it, stalking and seeing how close you can get too. So, but yeah, anything under 200's pretty much predominantly what I'd shoot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then what have been some of your biggest frustrations of coming into hunting as like, I guess, re-entering as a late onset hunter again? Not that you were late onset because you already had the skills, but re-entering into it. Has there been many frustrations with it?
From a female point of view, or just
I mean, just
general
your point
hunter?
of view, right? It doesn't, yeah, I mean, both, but yeah.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I guess most of the frustrations is just the female point of view, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's definitely getting a lot better now that
Mm-hmm.
a lot more women are getting into it. It's becoming a bit not such a stigma anymore. But yeah, I guess coming into it, it is frustrating, for an example, going to the gun shop to get ammunition, and the guy behind the counter is like, is this for your boyfriend, or is this really what you want?
Yeah.
That kind of, it's
Second
like,
guessing you, yeah.
really? Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the stuff like that. You've got, like I kind of, I don't know, for me, especially, I don't know how other women feel, but I always feel like you've got to try that extra harder to be taken seriously because I'm a female,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And there are, without pulling women down or anything, but there are women out there that like the look of hunting, if you know what I mean, and
Definitely. The
themselves
prissy
in a
ones on
different
the
way.
socials. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it means the women that actually hunt because they love to hunt have to work extra hard to be taken seriously.
Fight against that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, some of us don't feel the need to get into our bikini to take a photo. You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
You get it, good.
I mean, the other side of that is then also like you get out and you do hunt a lot. You've got a lot of animals you put down. You openly put them all up on social media. You showcase it all. Do you get pushback? I mean, obviously there's a fair difference between even the cultures here in Australia versus New Zealand. Like I put up a post just on my regular page and it copped a bit of hate. It copped a lot of love mainly, but it did cop a bit of hate because there was like a dead animal that I was sitting behind. They're like, oh my gosh, you're just trophy hunting, blah, blah, blah. But in regards to your world, do you ever cop hate at all from any of the stuff you're posting up?
Yeah, from time to time. Sort of, same thing. It kind of comes in waves. You get sort of the vegan tangent, yeah. But yeah, generally, like I'm quite mindful about what I post. Like I like to make sure I post the animal in a respectful manner. If that makes sense.
Yes.
I don't like the blood and guts and things like that. I like to make sure the animal is looking respectful,
Mm-hmm.
and that no matter who sees it, it's not going to be portrayed in a bad way.
Definitely.
So, if a vegan does see it, it's not necessarily gruesome and disgusting.
Yes.
But yeah, so I try my best to be mindful about the way I, portray
Showcase.
hunting in my photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, so yeah, yeah, you do get the hate, over the years, but you kind of just got to push past it. A lot of them are just uneducated, to be honest.
Oh, exactly right. That's exactly
just
all
don't
it is.
Yeah, just have no idea.
I think even with a lot of the vegans I've had conversations with, they actually prefer that method, that we're going out and we're sourcing the meat by ourselves and we're doing that side of it. It's only like the real extremists, right? And it's not even necessarily always vegans. Like there's definitely been a lot of meat eaters that have then seen almost like a grip and grin style photo. It wasn't even, it's just kind of a bit more respectful, kind of like what you're talking about, animal in its best form, obviously whilst dead, but just sitting behind it, hand on it, like giving appreciation to the animal, for instance. And then you cop I guess fire from these people that are meat eaters. They do their own thing, but they're like, oh, it's the assumption of what trophy hunting is, and the, I guess, bad persona that has been put around what trophy hunting is versus, hey, well, trophy hunting, if you want to break it down, let's have a look at what trophy hunting is. Like, essentially, is this trophy hunting just the fact that I've gone and kept something that's incredible from this animal and tried to showcase it from my own, my own remembrance of the animal? Then yeah, so be it. So we're all trophy hunters then, because we all take the meat. Like, is that a side of trophy hunting then, taking the meat, and is that a problem? Being a trophy hunter that takes meat? I don't know. And so I think what is often missed is the conservation side of hunting, right? Of what it can provide and what it does provide. Right now in Australia, in particular, in South Australia, they're trying to eradicate deer, is what the government is putting forward, but they're also trying to remove acts of hunters going out. So for instance, bow hunting, they're trying to ban bow hunting, but they want to eradicate deer. And it's like, well, hold up. You're saying that we are so cruel as bow hunters, yet the act that was the problem to start with was not a bow hunter. It was just someone with a bow that shot with a field point. It's a bit ridiculous on that behalf. But the other side of it is, who's actually the cruel one? You're trying to eradicate it from the world that we have here, like in Australia. It's just, it's bizarre.
It is bizarre, right? It's very contradictory. I mean, there's always going to be those out there that, do something stupid that ruin it for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
No one's got the same sort of thought process when it comes to hunting. There's some that are more passionate and respectful, and there's some that just don't really care.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean,
So
a few years ago, you guys had the tar concept where they were trying to eradicate the tar. Has there been anything else that's kind of been like an attack on species essentially over there since then?
Not at this stage. I mean, they're trying to talk. They're talking about it. But nothing has sort of come into play. So we're lucky that we've got what we call the Game Animal Council. So it's like a group along with the New Zealand Deer Stalkers Association that fight for hunters' rights. And so we're lucky that we've got them to sort of fight the Department of Conservation on a lot of matters, and forest and bird and whatever else.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So that's quite cool. So it's hunter led, and it's the hunters get behind them and they help us at the same time. So yeah, there has been talk, like with that tar situation. That was pretty crazy time, and there was a lot of animals killed and left on the hill, and which was really sad to see, because that was a lot of money and a lot of resources and money wasted there.
Yeah.
People pay a lot of money to come to New Zealand to shoot one of them. It's the only place in the world you can shoot one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely bizarre, especially when you put it like that, right? And so what does it? What would an international client pay for a guide to take them out and go hunt a tar? 10K? 20K?
Yeah. Pardon?
10 or 20K, probably?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a lot of money just goes straight into that system,
That's
right?
a huge amount of money. And that's just to shoot the animal, What about
taxidermy and everything else?
Everything, They bring a lot of revenue into the country, So, and they're endangered in the Himalayas, and the only place you can shoot them is in New Zealand. They're such a special animal, and they've been here for over 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so cool. They're so unique.
They're so cool. Yeah, they're incredible animals, and they're so big.
Are they?
Yeah, they're huge.
Like in comparison to a fallow deer, what would it be like?
Oh, they're big.
Yeah, wow.
Big fellow. Yeah,
Bigger than fallow.
yeah.
Holy gosh.
And they're just like hairy. They're just like I don't know how to explain them. They're like a gorilla, like they're just hairy and.
I just always assumed they were the same size of like your regular goats sort of thing.
Nah, so like a chamois like a goat size.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but a tar is so much bigger.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
There you go. That's so cool. How often have you hunted them?
So I haven't hunted them heaps, but I've been down a number of times and I've shot myself some chamois and tar. So as much as I can get down there, I try and get down there just because it's different and it's, the animal's different. Obviously, the hunting side of it's different and yeah, it's something. They are pretty cool. They're really incredible animals. So
what are flights like for you guys from like North to South Island?
Flight costs wise.
Yeah.
Oh,
cheap.
You can get a couple $100,
awesome.
down there and stuff. So yeah.
And then it's always backpack hunting that you've done when you've gone out after, let's focus on tar specifically. When you've gone out hunting, has it always been backpack hunting, or you go to the kind of, you guys have essentially not, they're cabins, right? That everyone can kind of stay in on certain bush
the dock
walks.
huts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the time it's sort of, you get choppered into the tops and then you tent and, make your way around and backpack, set up your tent sort of thing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there are dock huts in places, but most of the hunting I've done down south have been just tenting it out.
Yeah, okay. What sort of tent do you usually roll with for something like that?
Oh, just your 2-man tent,
Like, there's nothing special in the sense of like fighting off the weather or the winds and the rains and stuff.
Oh yeah, I've been on a couple we've used the MIA tents. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, I haven't.
They're like a canvas tent with a fireplace in it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
They're really cool. Yeah.
Would
they're
that be
awesome.
a heavy as all buggery thing to carry around?
Yeah, when you've got a chopper, you just get it dropped in where you.
I got you to use that as a base coming back as you go.
Yeah, so that's your base
you.
or your central area and, that kind of thing. And then you can go for a wander and, fly a tent or set up a tent and then come back.
That's like glamping. How good.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool tents. But yeah, otherwise just you chuck up your tent and off you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always interesting. I kind of look at, I haven't done much, no, I've done no backpack hunting yet. It's something that I do want to get into, like going on kind of like a week-long adventure and just doing that side of it. I think that's super cool. But from what I want to get, it's like a multi-$1,000 investment sort of thing to go and do, right? Like, okay, lightweight, trying to make sure you've got everything set up, like a good pack, a good, good tent, good sleeping bag, good gear to be able to take on the road with you. It's like, it becomes a pretty big investment. Obviously, that's something that will last you for hopefully your lifetime.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, okay, how far down that rabbit hole do I want to go?
Yeah, it's a big startup.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you get the right gear, it's going to last you a long time. So I don't know. I guess you just sort of, make it priority. Which one's more important than the other? Like I've been hunting a couple of years ago now down south, and we're up in the tops, and it was freezing. It was in June. It was winter, and I had a sleeping bag, and it wasn't a good sleeping bag, obviously, and I froze.
Yeah.
I was so cold, and I feel the cold anyway. And I was so cold for the 5 days we were there. I just froze. So after that, I was like, nope, I'm getting a better sleeping bag. And
Definitely.
I've got a really good sleeping bag now, and now I have no issues. So yeah, it comes down to something like that happening for you to go, right, now I'm doing it.
Definitely.
So,
I remember hunting once, and I don't know why. I thought it was a great idea to go out. It was freezing as well, and I thought it'd be a great idea to go out in gumboots. And so I went out in my gumboots, and I had thick-ish socks on, but my toes just absolutely froze. And that night when I hopped into bed, like it literally took an hour and a half for my toes to unfreeze, and we only had, I think, maybe 3 hours to sleep before we were hopping up again. And from that moment on, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. Like, unless I've got
Yeah.
proper good gum boots with like perfect lining in the cold, it's not happening. Like, I've got these ones that I take snowboarding with me, and they're good for it because they've got this wool line all through it, and your feet stay cozy. But
Yeah.
that sort of stuff, it makes you definitely realize what's valuable and what's not valuable in those circumstances.
Yeah. There's definitely, a number of pieces in the kit that you just don't want to go cheap on. You need to spend the money and buy decent. Otherwise, you suffer
Definitely.
later on.
I mean, weather is such an extreme thing in New Zealand as well. Has there been any other circumstances that you've been like, "Whew, that was near miss," or like that was not a situation we should have been in?
No, I've been relatively lucky actually with the South Island trips. Like the west coast of the South Island is known for crappy weather.
Yeah.
And for some ungodly reason, I don't know, I seem to always go down there and it's bluebird. Like it's just beautiful. And everyone's like, how? And I'm like, well, no, like it just happens.
So you just need to post when you're going South Island so everyone can go at the same time. Go in for the bluebird days.
Yeah. So I've been relatively lucky. Like there has been a couple, two tar ballets that I've, been meant to go on and the weather's just turned to shit. So just pulled out.
Explain the tar ballot. How's that work?
So every year there's certain blocks in the South Island, obviously where the tar is, that they have a ballot set up. So you put your name in. There was 4 of us that, normally there's 4, I think 4 to 6 maybe. And, you pay your money, you go on the ballot and you get drawn out a block. So it's normally a block that, isn't really accessible to, people unless you fly in and it's a dock area. So they do that once a year where they sort of ballot it off and allow you to go in there for your, I think it's 10 days you get, or no, is it 6? Might be like 6 to 10 days that you get, and there's 4 or 5 periods. So, you might have first, second, you might get the last period and see what's left. But yeah, it is quite good though that they do that.
And so in regards to those spaces, you're not allowed to hunt them at the other times of the year apart from during this ballot?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And how's that kind of managed?
It's just Department of Conservation, so public land. So you just aren't allowed to go in there during those times because you can only get in there via chopper. You can't walk in.
Got you. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then in regards to that, like they're obviously pretty game rich or like good quality tar in that location?
Some areas are better than others, I believe. So it just depends, like, with Doc doing all those culls on the tar, if your area was in that area, then there's probably scarce numbers in there. Yeah.
How often do they reproduce? Is it just like similar to deer, once a year? Yeah, wow. So it takes a while to rebuild a herd.
Yeah. But amazingly, some of them have survived all, that carnage that happened. So some areas, like, which was kind of sad, really, they sort of targeted a lot of the areas that were easily accessible to hunters, which seems really stupid because, you'd think they would target the areas that hunters couldn't get to.
Yeah, but then it doesn't make it seem like they're doing a job very well, does it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But, they just bombed up. And then at first they were going to just shoot all the nannies and then they were just shooting everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible. And so in regards to like hunting the tar in general, you don't have to be a part of the ballot to go and hunt them, do you?
No. So you can hunt them at any time of the year on other blocks, just these particular blocks.
Specific. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. And how many people usually apply for something like that ballot?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Quite a few because there's a number that miss out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the number is exactly, but you're lucky to get one, sort of thing,
Yeah, okay. And you've drawn it twice. Oh, no, you've missed out on it twice because of weather.
Yeah, I know. But, drawn it twice. I don't know how I managed that.
God, so you've drawn it twice and both times you've been weathered out.
Both times have been terrible.
Oh, that's horrible.
And then it's like, no, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to go when I want to go. Because then obviously, because it's a ballot, you can only go during that time frame and that's it.
Yeah.
So if the weather's crap during that week, it's too bad, So that's where like just going whenever you want to go on a different area is easier, because if the weather's crap, you just postpone to the following week or whatever you want to do. So
Definitely. And so when
yeah,
you're doing like a bit more of a trip like that, where you're just going where you want to go, what are you kind of looking for? Like, is it pretty much based on recommendation from friends down south, or are you actually looking at the graphs or looking at the maps and saying like, topographically, this looks incredible, I'm going to go here? Like, is that sort of the game plan, or how do you approach it?
Generally previously just with mates that live down there. They know
Yeah.
the area, they've been there, this is, we've seen good numbers here. So
Mm-hmm.
word of mouth gets around, and what animals are where and what the numbers are like. So
Yeah.
generally that's sort of what I do, yeah.
Definitely. In general, like, is it pretty inclusive as a community? If I know we are talking about before with females wanting to go hunting and jumping into potentially something like the system that you're talking about, but if someone was just like, in general, hey, I want to start hunting, can I get into it? Is it kind of the New Zealand community in general, like, oh, let's just go over here, like we'll just go to my public land block? Is that kind of the typical way that it goes, or is it very different down there or over there?
No, it's pretty good, eh? Like there's people are pretty willing to, share their passion and help someone out that wants to learn.
Mm.
Like I'm on a number of Facebook groups with hunting and stuff. And quite often, whether it be female or male, saying, hey, I want to get into hunting. Can anyone, recommend an area or a place to go? And people are willing to say, hey, go there.
That's awesome.
Especially when it comes to public land. Some people are quite, no, this is my spot.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly. Yeah.
And then there's people that are just like, go for it,
Yeah.
So people are pretty willing to share their expertise or say, tag along with me next time, I'll show you some things. So it is really cool. We've got a good little community, really.
Yeah, I think it comes with obviously having the open access, right? Like here in Australia, it definitely is a bit more reserved, and maybe, I don't know if it's from a point of scarcity or not, but it's like so much can go wrong if you're taking someone to your private hunting block and they do something wrong, right? That can potentially lose you your block, and that's the side of things that it gets to, where it becomes problematic, I guess, and where people maybe do shut off. And I don't think everyone is scared to take friends out hunting. That's not what it is. It's the process of, is it going to be all right by the property owner? Is it going to be all right to do this as a process? Are they going to be respectful? And I mean, obviously you try to vet them as much as you can before you do, but it's like, if you're a non-hunter going into hunting, there's like certain things, I guess, that you could probably do to really make yourself look more favorable than not, in regards to getting invited in general.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I can understand that would be tricky, taking someone in and then them doing something they shouldn't.
Yeah,
It wouldn't
definitely.
be ideal.
Yeah.
I think that's where public land's easy, when you don't have to worry about a private owner. So
Yeah, I'm taking some guys. Actually, I go to quite a lot of like masterminds and business events and stuff, and I've went to 2 different ones and met these 2 guys on both of the occasions, and they both just fell in love with what I do with bow hunting. They're like, dude, we want this. Like, we want to do this for ourselves. I'm like, okay, well, here's the first test. Go and buy yourself a bow. And sure enough, they've both bought themselves bows. And then I'm like, okay, now you need to start shooting like daily. Send me the stuff you're shooting. And they're doing it. And I'm like, cool, I've booked us a property. We're going in September. They're like, oh my God. Like, they're just so excited to go and witness this thing. They're like little schoolboys, right? They're just like, yeah, cheering and stuff. It's pretty funny to watch. And it's cool to like share that froth with people, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel like, if you've been hunting for a long time and you've got some people, hunting for the first time or taking the animal for the first time, it's such a thrill, and it just brings it all back. Like with my boys is prime example,
Definitely.
like hunting, it's still, a novelty for me, but hunting with them just brings all those emotions back for when you first started. So it is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like your first animal, you obviously always remember, and it's even more precious when you get to share it with them, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's why, like, I've been asked a number of times, like, what's your favorite hunt? And to be honest, my favorite hunts are not my hunts; they're their hunts, but I was there to experience it. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Did you take them out with you much over the rut?
Yeah, we did. We spent a few days, a long weekend away for Easter weekend here and down. And yeah, they normally do come along. for a weekend here and weekend there. So yeah, they come along. They love it. The younger one got himself a nice red deer, so he was stoked.
Yep. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. They love it.
How was the rut for you guys over there this year? Ours was definitely like a bit weird in regards to not going off as early or as often as what they usually would. It depends on which part you're in, definitely. But like the block that I commonly hunt, like I was there the exact same time last year, and it was absolute chaos the versus this year. And I heard 4 roars all week. I'm like, what the heck's going on? There was like obviously a lot of little factors that kind of play into it, but was there anything uncommon about the rut this year for you guys?
Yeah, like different, same thing here, like different areas, different times they're starting, like in the area that I hunt in the North Island, I went down probably beginning of April, and normally they sort of start kicking off, and they were roaring, but not full noise like they normally are. But yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, it can be quite hard to sort of judge it because sometimes they're super late and sometimes they're super early, but they were roaring. It just wasn't it was more the mature stags had sort of kicked off, which, and some hinds were obviously cycling and some just weren't, there was still stags bunched up together. It was kind of weird to see at that time of the year, but yeah, and then I ended up going down south, so I didn't really get to experience the rest of the roar up here to see how it sort of unfolded. So, but down south they were full noise.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. And what were you chasing down south? Did you go fallow and red or just red this year?
Just reds, yeah. Just reds down south this year.
Yeah, awesome. Where did you go for that?
Went down to don't know if you know Queenstown.
Yeah. Sorry, it just cut out like literally as you said, but yeah, I love Queenstown. It's like one of my favorite places in the world that I've been to.
Yeah.
Like just the surroundings are so incredible, right?
Oh, it's beautiful, eh?
Yeah.
I went down that way to just south. I think it's south. To Glenorchy.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So I went down there. Yeah, beautiful spot.
Yeah, the stag. I'm just looking at the stag that you got. He was a ripper.
Yeah, no, he was a right, eh? Nice 12, so I was happy.
Yeah. How long did you take to find him?
I think that was maybe day 3 or 4.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I definitely, did some walking, passed up a number of, stags that just weren't quite right or just weren't mature enough or big enough or, so yeah. Definitely wasn't the first thing I saw, but yeah.
How long do you think through your hunting journey that it took you to go from wanting to shoot everything to then going, I'm going to start to pass up animals. I'm going to start to look for a mature animal. Like this is what I'm going to look for from here on out. How long did that take? Do you reckon?
I think I think every hunter probably goes through that. Well, I assume every hunter goes through that. I guess for me, the first probably year or so, you're right. You're just like looking to fill the freezer or shoot something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the novelty probably wore off maybe, I don't know, a year or so, possibly.
How often do you hunt, roughly?
As much as I can. I don't know, gosh.
Days ending in Y. AY.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
No, I try hunt as often as I can. At the moment, like with winter sport, with myself playing, my kids playing, it can be quite hard during that winter period.
Yeah. You guys all play rugby?
Pardon?
You all play rugby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, during that winter time I don't hunt as often, but pre that and after that, as much as I can. But yeah, I don't know, maybe a month, at least once, twice a month if I can.
Yeah. Awesome.
During the rut, it's normally every weekend.
Yeah, definitely. More. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about
the same thing,
What about that old battle that you knocked over this year? Where was he? Was he up north, back home?
Yeah. So he was up north. Yeah. So that was Easter weekend. Went with
cool. Okay.
And yeah, my boy Zeb got one as well, which was really cool.
Which I mean,
obviously it's hard to say like this is my favorite, but is there one that stands out more than the other with those two?
Which kid?
No.
Did you? Oh, don't know.
No. I mean the two
I
red.
can't answer that.
Surely they're not listening, right? No.
Yeah.
The red stags.
Oh, the red stick. Oh, ooh. I think probably that's a really hard one. But I want to say the one, so I shot a red that's got like a big back tone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not because like he's unique, which is really cool,
Yep.
but it was more probably the hunt that was, made it my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the first hunt that both of my boys were with me.
Yeah, how good.
Yeah, and one of them was roaring, the stag, and they were just fully involved in it. So that was probably my favorite, to be honest.
Do you mean one of your boys was roaring at the stag?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it was.
What do you guys use when you're up roaring? Like, do you have a tube or anything that you're using, a horn of any sort that you use, or you just do it all by hands?
I've got like an old cow horn that I've
Mm-hmm.
turned into a roaring horn.
Yeah.
So that's what I use, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then what about the fallow in general? They're usually going just after the reds, do you find over there in New Zealand? Like overlapping, obviously, but
Yeah, they kind of go at similar times, to be honest, where I normally hunt. So yeah, they sort of go at similar times and maybe go a little bit longer than the reds.
yep.
But yeah, they definitely overlap. But yeah, they were pretty, like when I was down there this year, they were relatively quiet, for yeah. But like I said, I wasn't down there for probably the peak time, so
Yeah. And you said
missed
you said
that.
earlier that fallow are actually your favorite deer. Why is that? Just like the uniqueness of them, or is it the taste of them? Like, what's your draw to fallow?
I'd say it's the uniqueness, like, because, obviously the skin type, their antlers, everything is quite unique to the, and then, the sound they make, their characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. They're unique. They're
Yeah.
different. Yeah. And they're just so beautiful too. They're such pretty deer.
They really are. I mean, I honestly think most deer in general are just pretty majestic, right? Especially in their old age and whatever, like a big stag or a big buck that you see, you're like, whoa, goddamn, like just, it's a
Yeah.
pretty animal.
Yeah.
Do you,
Fellows are so different. Like there's spotty, there's chocolate, there's white, there's, there's such a different variety of them all, So yeah.
yeah, it's super cool. Do you keep hides or anything like that often?
Yeah. So I've got a lot of hides. Just about to make a carpet out of them in my house.
What do you do with them? Like you tan them all up and keep them in the house? Yeah.
Yeah. So I sort of went through a stage of tanning my own for a while there. Just sort of thought, why not give it a go? It's something that I feel like I could probably do. So I went through a stage of tanning my own, especially the nice skins that I, thought were quite pretty, and most of them are, especially if you shoot them at the right time of the year.
Definitely.
And then
what method were you using for that, for the tanning for yourself?
Yeah, so I just brought a tanning kit from a local gun shop that we have in New Zealand, and YouTube, followed the instructions and just worked it out.
Yeah.
And
were you doing it in like a big barrel and doing multiples at once, or are you just doing small bucket one at a
I
time?
sort of just did like one at a time, just in case I mucked it up, then I wasn't ruining two skins.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there was a few teething things, but eventually, I actually got not too bad at it and did some nice skins, which was really cool.
What were you pinning them up on to dry them out? You know how you meant to stretch it at
like
the end?
a big sheet of ply.
Yeah, how good. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just pin them up with that. But I have taken a couple of really nice fallow skins to a tanner, because they're so nice. And I didn't like my first, my eldest boy Jack, his first fallow, he really wanted the skin because he didn't have a great head, which was fine.
Yes.
So I was like, right, I don't want to ruin it, so we'll take it somewhere and get it professionally done. So he's got it in his room. So yeah, that's cool.
With the ones that you tanned yourself, have you had any like hair slip or anything like that happen?
No, I've been quite lucky. like I said, I did my research.
Yeah.
So it must have lucked it.
You said that you had a few teething issues. What did you come up against?
Oh, just like the tail coming off, like when
Mm,
you're trying to flesh it, I must
yes.
have, whopped it off
Yeah.
kind
Especially
of
the
thing.
fallow, like at the tip of their tail is so
Yeah.
it's so fine, right?
Yeah. So I did that on one, I think,
Mm,
and
I did that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like little things really. Like some of them can be quite firm, and you've
Hmm.
really got to, flesh them quite a lot. So some of them I probably could have fleshed a bit more than others, but they soon soften after you wear them and stuff. So
What did you do in the regards of like actually, getting the flesh off? That process of like, I don't know, you see tanners, they put it over something, they'll have like a big old scraping knife essentially they use to
Mm.
pull down. What did you do for that? You just single knife, just sitting there and going to town?
Um, so I water blasted
Ah,
mine.
cool. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So like salt and then, hang it and then salt it again, hang it and then water blast.
And it
Just
came
got
off
all the
fine.
flesh off. Yeah, so easy.
Yeah, wow, how good.
So yeah, I water blasted and then yeah, it seemed to get quite a lot of the flesh and stuff off. And then you have a little tool that you sort of use when it's sort of drying out, to soften.
Definitely, it's something that I'm very interested in doing it myself, just to try it as a process. Right,
Mm.
it's not something I've done myself yet. I've
Yeah.
skinned plenty of animals. I've got capes all over my house as well. Like we've got goats, we've got red deer, we got fallow. Like the red deer was just because it was my first stag. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm getting it done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think I'd get a red carpet done again, a red
Yeah.
the hide done again. It's just so strawy, right? But like
Yeah.
the fallow are beautiful. I've got one right here.
Mm.
Yeah, they're really nice. And so there's definitely something I think I'll try to do is keep a few more capes and do that for myself. Definitely down the track.
Yeah. It's super rewarding, I reckon. Like
Mm,
it's really cool to, have it on the floor and be like, I've utilized the whole animal and I've done it myself. So yeah, it is cool.
yeah.
It's not, it's not, I don't think it's overly difficult. I think
No.
it's just a time thing.
Time consuming. Yeah. I mean
Yeah.
I feel like that's most of keeping anything from the wild, right? Like anytime that I've gone and kept a skull and made a euro
Mm.
mount or even just skinning and doing that process, even the butchering stuff, right? It's all just time consuming. And that's the biggest thing. It's like, okay,
Mm.
you've worked so hard, you've got
Yeah.
it done. Now you just need to be willing to put in the time and effort that it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's it. And some people just can't be bothered. So
Exactly right.
yeah.
The sheep that you have got that you shot with your bow, what was that? Like is that just a wild sheep that you've got over there, or is that a mouflon of some sort, or what is it?
It's called an arrow power.
A what? An arrow power?
Yeah, arrow.
The old Aussie accent on it.
Arrow power. Yeah. You just got an Aussie twang to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you spell it? I'm gonna search it up real quick. Mm-hmm.
ARAPAW.
Yeah, got you. It's got such cool like
Bills, eh?
like
Yeah.
spiral horns on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool.
So tell us about them.
Oh, what do you want to know about them? I don't know a huge amount about them.
It's
So
a
yeah, I shot one with my bow. They're not, I must admit, they're not the most amazing things to hunt.
like
Being
mean they're pretty
honest.
pretty docile or what?
Just like if you can imagine shooting a sheep with your bow, that's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
Like they're quite similar to a sheep. They're a little bit not very smart.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're wild on a private land that I had hunting access to, and I didn't feel like shooting one with a rifle was quite right. It seemed too easy, but
Yeah.
I really wanted, to shoot one and stuff. So I thought, I'll shoot one with my bow and have a go. And obviously, the bow made it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Not super hard, but yeah. So yeah, I ended up shooting one with my bow, which was quite cool. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was really cool.
I'm just trying to look up some of the information. So it just says that they're a breed of sheep, feral, and found primarily in the Arapawa Islands.
Yeah. That's where they originally came from, the Arapawa Islands.
Yeah, okay.
Mm. And you can get them on I think it's the Chathams. They have them down there as well. They're sort of scattered in private, and there's definitely a lot in private lands because a lot of game parks and stuff have them for hunters to shoot.
Okay.
So they're only found in sort of public areas, little sort of dotted around, but not very many.
And so it's kind of like a wildly sought after animal because it's so unique to those areas.
Yeah, for like public land it would be, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
But
okay.
private land, I think they're just a cool thing, they're just cool to look at, and
Yeah, definitely.
hunters, want one for their wall or whatever they might want.
Yeah. And in regards to like if someone was coming over, is that kind of something that you often see them being like, oh, I need to add that to my tahr hunt or something, or?
Yeah, like if someone's coming over to, a game park or whatever, they generally go with the big three of, a fallow, a red, and a chamois or a tahr or whatever, and then they'll tack on an Arapawa ram because they're just cool.
They're cool. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tell us about the stalk. How did it all go down for that one?
Oh, gosh, it's got to be easy. Yeah, like I said, they're just like a sheep / goat, they're just grazing and, but yeah, I'd sort of managed it. There was a couple and I just decided which one was the bigger one.
Yeah.
And he was it. So I was like, right. So I sort of made a little plan as to where I was going to go. So that was lucky. There was sort of like tea tree, sort of scrubby areas with grass, scatterings, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they were just feeding through. So I just set myself up to a spot where he was just going to feed through. And
good.
I think it was about 20 yards. So yeah, he just fed his way through and I just waited basically and let an arrow fly, and that was the end of it.
They're actually like you said, they're just like a unique, cool looking animal. Like, yes, they are like sheep, but they're also very unique in the sense of like his horns are crazy. That big twirly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then obviously they have wool as well, but even the wool just is pretty unique.
Yeah, they are really unique. And I think that's the novelty of them is that they are so unique. I definitely wouldn't hunt them for a cool hunting experience, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, easy to ambush. Yes.
Yeah, like they're not the most exciting things to hunt, but the fact that they're so unique is really cool. And yeah, like it's one of those things that, I've shot one and I don't need to do it again, sort of.
Definitely, yeah. Did you do anything with him in regards to keeping his skull or anything like that?
Yeah. So I've got a skull and so I've got it Euro mounted in my house, and I've got the arrow that I shot him with in there as well. So that's
cool.
Momentum, yeah.
I can imagine it would look incredible as a Euro.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah.
And they're just so like, because he's really old, they've got the cracks and that uniqueness to them. Because they just fight and bang heads. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you ever get stuff mounted, like in general? Do you keep heads? Do you do that side of things in general, or you stay away from it? What's your outlook on it all?
I've got 2 mounts, so I've got both a tahr and a chamois from the South Island done. But I haven't had it. I'm not mounted a deer yet. I've been real fussy. I'm like, oh, maybe, and then I'm like, nah, but. I probably should have got one mounted at some point, but I just haven't. Nah, just the South Island ones this year. Not this year.
No, but just in general, yeah. Do you think there's like a little bit of reservedness to it because you've got so much access to them, like because there is a lot of them?
Possibly. Just maybe the thought of, oh, maybe I'll get one that's better, and then I'll be disappointed that I've got, like I don't know.
Definitely, yeah.
Like your first deer you can understand because it's your first, it's never going to change. But if you don't get that done and it's like just a red, you're like, oh, but what if I get a better one? And
definitely, yeah.
And then I wish I got that one done instead. So they're all Euro mounted, which is fine. And at some point you could always get it, get another skin and stuff if you wanted to do that. But no, I've kind of been waiting. I don't know what for, but.
No, I can relate because it's definitely similar sort of concept. Like I really am waiting for a big and special one for it to happen.
Also, there's the side of where am I going to hang it? It's going to definitely have to be a wall mount for me in the office, probably more than anywhere else. But yeah, it will happen one day.
Yeah, I've got like no room. Like none.
Yeah.
I've literally got like both of my reds that I got this raw outside sitting on the table going, where am I going to put these? And now that my boys both hunt, they want to put
Keeping
their
their
animals
stuff.
in their room, which means my ones have to come out.
Yeah. So it just becomes.
So, but yeah, it's the same old, like something's going to have to be demoted to make room. So
Yeah.
the back fence in the garden's looking pretty fancy at the minute.
That's awesome. In regards to some of the other species that you've got on the North Island, then have you hunted them much? Like your rooster, your sandbar, and your sitka at all? Sika, sorry.
Yeah, I've hunted sika a little bit, not a huge amount.
Yeah.
But they're quite inquisitive deer. They're really cool. Like quite often, you think we've spooked them, and the next minute you find them sneaking back.
Gotcha.
They're quite cool, but they're really crafty at the same time. They can be quite difficult to hunt.
They're the ones that make like quite a unique, almost like whistle, isn't
Squeal?
it? A squeal, yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool. So I've hunted them a little bit. I've never hunted sambar. It's not something I've hunted. So they're only sort of found in certain areas of the North Island.
Yeah.
But that's something I've yet to hunt. So yeah, I haven't experienced that. Rosa, I've done a little bit, but same thing. They're in such a small area in the North Island that, you can find them. And yeah, I've not done a huge amount of it. So mainly reds and fellows, yeah.
Yeah, nice. I'm doing my first like proper bow hunting rooster trip this year. I've only ever hunted one rooster. It was literally one had attached itself to some mate's cattle, and so we went and shot it. But this is kind of like the first big trip, and I've got someone coming on to do like a rooster specific. Like this is what you need to do during the rut. So I'm pretty excited to learn about them more in general, and just then get to go out and hunt them and stuff. So yeah, they're a pretty. I mean, obviously, all animals are unique in themselves, but they seem like quite characters.
Yeah, really cool, eh? And they hate the cold. They're always sort of in a sunny face.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sunny faces, because apparently their hair is hollow.
Similar
So
to the
they
reds
feel
in a
the
sense,
cold.
but like even more.
Yeah.
We actually, one of the blocks I used to hunt, they had one called Happy, and essentially he was a boy that they had castrated when he was young, so they could keep him there without him attacking everyone, getting testosterone. But you'd literally scratch up against him. It's similar to like, if you can imagine what a pig's fur, like a strawy pig or something like that, like scratching a pig is kind of similar to what it felt like scratching him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's definitely like, very thick, strawy, like rough. Yeah, you wouldn't want to use it as a carpet, that's for sure.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool, eh? Yeah, need to hunt them a bit more, actually. And just because they're rut times after the raw as well, so it sort of just feeds them quite nicely, yeah.
Definitely. And so what do you have hunt ambitions wise moving forward? Like, is there anything you've got coming up that you're looking forward to?
So I've got a trip down south booked the end of June. So I'm heading back down there to do a bit of hunting, which will be cool. And have a bit of a look around an area that I'm looking at getting into guiding for.
Amazing.
So I guess sort of just getting familiar with the area and stuff, and having a look around for some deer and maybe shoot something while I'm down there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that at the moment.
In regards to guiding so far from home, like how does that look for the family life and whatever?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet.
The bridge you have to gap, yeah.
So I don't know, it's always kind of been something I've been interested in doing.
Yeah.
But I never sort of got into it because of the kid situation. I had kids, and then it became almost not too hard, but it became, especially when they were younger. But now that they're older, it's sort of it's now been given an opportunity. I've been given an opportunity, and it sort of seems silly to pass it down.
Yeah.
And now they're older, it becomes a lot easier.
Mm.
So, yeah, I don't know if I'll sort of at this stage do it full time, but just pick up bits and pieces when and where I'm needed, and sort of see where it goes.
Yeah, it's cool. A bit of overflow work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who knows? I might not even like it, but there's an opportunity there, and why not, take it with both hands and see how I go.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it, like, obviously, I mean, it depends on the type of person you're taking out, right? I guess it could be, if it's just fat Americans with a very arrogant personality, it wouldn't be that enjoyable. But outside of that, you'd hope that's not the type of personnel you're taking out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you're bound to get some shockers at some point, but yeah, I think it depends on the personality of yourself as well, whether. But yeah, I don't know. I've got a number of friends that are guides, and I definitely hear some good tales and some bad ones. So.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, don't know. I'll see how I go. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and sort of getting stuck in and having a crack. So see how we get on.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's I mean, working with people, most people work with people to some extent, right? In some extent. And so you can definitely see people can wear you out, but they can also lift you right up, and you can have those trips where you're like feeling beat down after you get away from it, or you just feel absolutely incredible. And I think in general, you seem like you've got pretty thick skin, so I feel like you'd be a perfect match for this in general. Like, I think you deal with it well. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be all right.
We'll see in 6 months, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Might change my mind then.
Yeah. Is there many guiding experiences in the North Island?
Guiding stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, in regards to private land stuff, you mean?
Yeah, like just similar sort of concept, people coming over, hunting the North Island just as much.
Yeah, yeah. So there's people that hunt seeker, reds, fellows in the North Island. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's rooster in the North Island as well, so, and on private lands, public, safari parks or whatever. But yeah.
Safari parks and like high fence parks and stuff in general, they're pretty popular over there? Like, is there a lot of them?
Yeah, there are a lot. Yeah. But that's, I guess, what New Zealand was made for, wasn't it? Or why the animals were brought to New Zealand.
Yeah, definitely. And it's pretty interesting, like, I can't even remember where I was hearing this, but talking about some of the red genetics that they have in those parks, where the antler is so big on both sides that it's tearing the skull apart, like, of the actual animal. They suffer from it. And it's whatever they've done to genetically breed these animals and make them that way. But it's like, it's malforming the animal now that they've gone so far the other way.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they're not for me. They're uglier, if you ask me. But the Americans love them.
Yeah.
Like, the bigger the better for them, Like,
yeah.
that's typical America, isn't it? Stuff is better stuff.
Definitely.
So you see some photos and you're like, what the heck? Like, what? It's just like I don't even know what it is. It's ugly. It's huge. It's
malformed in a sense, right? Essentially what it is.
It's just like, I don't even know how to explain some of the ones you see, but they just love them.
How about the Wapiti? Whereabouts are they? And are they public land only, or private land only, or what's the deal with Wapiti in New Zealand?
So they're down in Fiordland, which is down the South Island, or the lower South Island.
Yeah.
So that is public down there. There are Wapiti on private, safari parks and game parks and stuff.
Yeah.
So people can shoot them from there. So they do a ballot system as well for the Wapiti. So same sort of deal as the tar, but I think it's a bit more sought after, to be honest. I think it's like a lottery if you get one.
Got you.
So they have the same sort of setup. And they have, like, I don't know if they call them specific rules, but there's sort of If you're going to go in there, you got to abide by certain rules, and they like you to shoot certain animals for maturity and things like that to sort of preserve the herd.
Yeah. And wapiti is just elk, isn't it? There's no difference in what an elk and a wapiti is, essentially.
I believe they're the same.
Yeah.
But the ones that we have down south, they're not really pure anymore because they've inbred with the reds. So quite a lot of them are hybrid.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I always thought a wapiti was like a red mixed with a elk. But essentially, yeah, it says online like wapiti is elk is wapiti.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if you hunt down there, like you'll hear a bugle, which you're like, oh yeah, there's a wapiti, and then you hear one that sounds really weird, and it's like that's a pure, like not a pure red, it's a hybrid. So quite often they yeah, I think the majority of them now are mixed.
Okay. And they go off, they're in April as well, what they rut?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Very
But the
interesting.
country down there, like I haven't been to Fjorden. I'd love to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely on my bucket list. But everyone I know that has hunted down there has just said it is the hardest hunting.
Yeah, okay.
Like the terrain, the bush, everything is just so unforgiving. And the weather is always miserable. It's always raining.
Yeah.
I think the rainfall percentage is super high
Yeah, wow.
when you're done
Yeah.
at all times. So, like some blocks, I know you've got to walk 8 hours before you even get to your block. You got to walk through someone else's. Yeah, but people do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unique. That's crazy. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine hiking through the shittest country for 8 hours, right?
Yeah. And sometimes it's like that. It's
Yeah.
not flat in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely an experience from what I've heard. So yeah, hopefully get down there at some point.
What shoes do you wear when you go out hunting, like tar, for instance, in the high country type stuff?
Hunting boots.
Yeah.
I wear lowers.
Okay. They seem to be pretty popular in general, right? Like a lot of people
Yeah.
love the lowers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got the lower Tibets, and yeah, I love them. Like they're quite hard underfoot, but I prefer them like that for some reason. I don't know. Because a lot of people with the bush stalking like a soft boot, but no, I wear mine for everything.
Okay. Perfect rugby boots.
Oh, yeah, ideal.
So do you ever take your shoes off to stalk then? Given that that's the way that they feel?
I haven't had to, no.
Yeah, okay. And then in regards to actually wearing them in, because they're heavier and harder on the foot in a sense, do they take a little bit longer to wear in?
I took mine straight out of the box.
Yeah, awesome. Straight
no
away.
issues with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I wear volleys, like literally just the flattest sole, ridiculous shoes, because I've always just like I'm barefoot all the time. I wear thongs. If I'm going to wear shoes, I wear thongs pretty much, apart from when I go to the gym in the morning. But even then, I've got like flat sole shoes. So when I go out, I like to have really flat sole shoes. But this is the first time I said anything about this, but this I actually stood on, like, it was like a broken off stump of a sapling, and it went straight through my shoe, straight through my toe, and out the other side. Like, it just cut a big slice off my toe. I was like, oh God. So that's the first time I've been like, okay, maybe it's time to change and actually get some boots. But yeah, it was so interesting because I've never had any issues like that at all. And I usually love wearing them because you can actually legitimately stalk in them. Like, you don't have to do anything. You can feel every little bit of piece that's coming for you. But I was just trekking through the side of the hill. I was getting around to the part where the red deer usually are. And I just went shunk. And I was like, oh, fuck. I think I honestly thought it was way worse than what it was. And it could have been really, really bad. Like, if it was just back, whatever, an inch, it would have been straight through my foot. But where it even got, I honestly thought I was going to open up. My toe was going to be completely sliced into like pieces. But it was just like one clean, straight cut. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, you need some boots.
Yeah, so I have started looking into them a lot more over the last few weeks. I mean,
good.
Yeah, since the rut, I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to upgrade and become a real hunter. Definitely. Awesome. Well, is there any parting words you want to leave the team with, Ashlee?
Oh, I don't think so. Don't know, do I?
It doesn't have to be. That's all right. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on. Your Instagram handle is at Ashlee.Strange. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. You always have some cool adventures. You share some good stories when you're out hunting and stuff. So I'd definitely recommend the men and the women to get over there and make sure they're following along, especially if you're interested in New Zealand hunting. Maybe that's something to finish on. Because the hunting is so damn good in New Zealand, is there any desire for you to hunt elsewhere? Like, do you feel the need to go overseas or want to go overseas?
Yeah, for sure. I would love to hunt in Alaska. I'd love to hunt a caribou.
Yeah, you're talking my language.
Yeah. So that's definitely up there on my bucket list. And then if I get to Aussie, a chittle would be really cool.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're probably next on my list. Like, I'll go for this rooster hunt, and then I'm going to try. I actually have access to a chittle block that I've not gone to yet, so I definitely need to spend some time there.
Yeah, cool. They're so epic.
Yeah, they're cool. Very unique as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Apparently incredibly hard with the bow. I mean, hard in general, but with the bow. Actually, that's a good story. When are you picking your bow back up and hunting? Is that the June hunt or what?
I have to now dust it off. I get cold.
Exactly.
I actually picked it up last week, I think it was. And I was like, oh my God, I really need to shoot this. And yeah, I enjoy it. It's therapeutic, just flying an arrow. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, now I need to take it for a walk and hopefully shoot something with it. So
definitely. Yeah. I got my stick bow out the other day when I just had the most frustrating day and I was so angry and I was just shooting it and I was still in my head so much and I shot and I missed, smashed an arrow. I was like, made me even more angry. Now I did it again. I was like, learn your lesson, dude. Like, just calm down. It's time to start focusing on what you're doing. And it was a good thing just to pull me back in, get me out of my head and just actually pull me back into my body, right? It's like, I think that is as an action, like shooting your bow and arrow is it can be frustrating, but it can be more calming and resolve the issues for you as well. It's fascinating what it can do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's a therapeutic thing and it's a discipline, so.
Definitely. Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good note to end on. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom for not only the girls, but the boys. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will learn a lot in regards to especially the New Zealand stuff we talked about, right? Like, given that that's what the main topic was. But I think it is such an untapped resource for many Australians that I think so many people, it is so accessible as well. Like, it's almost cheaper to go to New Zealand for me than it is for me to go to other parts of Australia, which is crazy. So it's definitely high on my list. I will be over at some point. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Yeah. Yeah, you got to do it. Yeah, that's cool. Right. Well, yeah, definitely. That's a generalization for everyone. Go over and start hunting New Zealand. Yeah. That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bow Hunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you are enjoying the show or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bowhunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bowhunter.